Hi all, my name is Davis and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things tech. And today we are taking a look at yet another tank phone. It feels like that 8849/Unihertz are practically releasing a new tank phone every week at this stage. But unlike with last week's review of the Tank 2 Pro, I feel like that you should really take note today because this is by far my favorite one that I've used. And that's because it solves one of my biggest problems with these phones. And that is the size. Yes, I do love the ridiculous features like the camp lights, the projectors, and of course massive batteries. And yes, of course I understand that these features take up a lot of space, but the thing is, if I'm going to daily a phone, it sort of needs to fit in my pockets. And I'm afraid that a 6.8-inch phone that weighs 1.5 pounds and is 3 centimeters thick really doesn't fit in my pocket. So what they've done with the Tank 3S is take everything that we loved with the Tank 3 Pro and repackaged it in a smaller, slimmer package. But is a slimmer tank phone a better tank phone? That's what we'll find out after this break. And this video is brought to you by the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, a smart wearable that has completely changed my life. If you are looking for a smart piece of tech that doesn't look like a smart piece of tech, then these are perfect for you because not only are these fantastic sunglasses, but they also have an amazing camera. It's sort of like having a GoPro with you everywhere you go, so it can capture memories like your exotic car spotting skills or your front row seats at a concert without having to take your phone out. And these are also fantastic headphones, so if you work an office job and want to listen to music or podcasts without people knowing, then these work fantastically, and that's from first-hand experience as well. I have raved about these so much that Meta actually noticed, and now they are sponsoring my channel. So if you would like to check them out, I have an affiliate link in the description and in the comments, and if you buy one, that would really help me out as well. So for those of you who don't know or are new to my channel, what exactly is a tank phone? So a tank phone is a line of tough phones originally by Unihertz, but now they are under the 8849 sub-brand, and I absolutely adore them because they are quite literally insane. They're like if you had asked an 8-year-old what sort of features they would like to have on a phone and you just couldn't say no. On the Tank 3 Pro, for instance, not only did it have a 23,800 milliamp battery, but it also had features like a 1200 lumen torch, a night vision camera, police lights, and even a projector. And that's all encased in a body that sort of looks like the Cybertruck of phones. It's certainly not pretty, but like a Cybertruck, you can't help but notice it, and it certainly does attract many a stare. So what's the difference between the original Tank 3 Pro that we had a look at earlier this year and the new 3S? Well, at first glance, very little, because where the original Tank 3 Pro was a little bit of a beast of a phone, the Tank 3S is also a bit of a beast of a phone. They've both got massive 1080p 6.8-inch 120Hz IPS displays, which look fine, but are far from amazing. They also both top out at around 580 nits in brightness, which isn't very bright for a phone that you're supposed to be able to use outdoors. They both have a projector on the top and also have active cooling. In addition to that, they also both have the annoying flap to charge it and a 3.5mm headphone jack lying underneath that. And yes, before you comment, I do know why it's needed, but it's still annoying. They also both have 2 action buttons on the sides with a manual focus knob for the projector. They both also have a fingerprint reader on the power button that works fairly well, but if you look more closely, there are some minor differences, because where the original Tank 3 Pro had just one camp light on the back, the Tank 3S has twice that. It's got 2. It's both got a tungsten and a daylight one. It's a little bit like the camp light on the Tank 2 Pro, but where that added a green light in addition to the red and blue warning lights, the Tank 3S sticks with just the red and the blue. And the camp lights are as useful as ever. It's great for filming or just seeing what you're doing in the dark. And the differences go further because the Tank 3S also has a very different camera array. While they both have an infrared night vision camera and the same 3.4x telephoto camera, the main camera is now a 50 megapixel unit instead of 200, and they've also ditched the wide angle camera. I mean, really guys, even a slimmer tank phone should have a full camera array. And I don't see why they got rid of the wide camera, because I would far rather take that over the mediocre telephoto one. However, the big change with this model is the battery, because whereas the Tank 3 Pro had a massive 23,500 mAh battery, the Tank 3S has just a 15,600, which to be fair is still absolutely massive. It's larger than anyone could still possibly need. And because of the smaller battery, the thickness of the phone has gone down from 30mm to just 25. And to be fair, that really isn't that much of a difference. This thing is still literally an inch thick. And the weight similarly has gone down from 696 grams down to 605. This is still a tremendously heavy phone. If the original Tank 3 and Tank 3 Pro were too heavy for you, then I'm afraid that the 3S is probably still too heavy. I feel like that they really missed a beat with this one. A 10,000 mAh battery would still have been massive and would have created a little bit more of a differentiation compared to these other models. So whereas the old one might have been too large to fit in on pocket, for example, it fits, but it's very uncomfortable. The new one is just a little bit more manageable. Yeah, but they're both still absolutely massive. So the design has changed a little bit, but has anything else? The Tank 3S is supposed to be running Android 14, while the standard models are still on 13, but on my pre-production unit, it's still running Android 13. So I can't really comment about how the newer operating system runs, but from using Android 14 on the Tank 2 Pro, there is barely any difference whatsoever. Otherwise, the specs are the same as the Tank 3 Pro. This still has a MediaTek Dimensity 8200 chip, which isn't the latest chip, but it's still very capable. This thing just never seems to lag, and it's fairly good for gaming as well. And that's also paired with a massive 16GB of RAM, or up to 32 if we include virtual RAM, so you can multitask to your heart's content. And the Geekbench 6 scores are fairly decent as well, at 1242 for single core and 3739 for multi-core, which is sort of equivalent to the Google Pixel 7 Pro, except with active cooling, this thing never overheats. Unihertz phones generally have pretty good software and nice clean builds of Android. However, my main problem is the same as always, the lack of updates. Most people don't buy new phones every year, so the OS not getting updates and especially security patches really is something that you should think about and consider before buying any Tank or Unihertz phone. So how is the projector? Has that changed? Like with the Tank 2 Pro and Tank 3 Pro phones, this is the best feature of the phone. While it doesn't sound amazing at 480p in resolution and 100 lumens in brightness, this is the only projector on a phone worth using, and it beats out even some small Pico projectors out there on the market. The amazing thing with this is that this projector is bright enough to use in most indoor situations, but when the conditions are optimal, you basically have a 100-inch screen in your pocket wherever you go. It really is that cool. And the mono speaker when you're listening to content on the projector as well is pretty loud as well. It goes up to 105 decibels. And while I do know that they do sell a stand, for the next version, I would love to see an integrated kickstand so you can adjust the tilt of the projector when you are out and about. I am honestly tired of having to rest this on another Tank phone when I use the projector. Okay, so the projector is great, but how are the cameras? Well, they're okay. The main camera is a 50 megapixel unit, and it's genuinely rather good. It's quick, colors look pretty good, dynamic range is okay as well, and the level of detail that it can achieve is quite impressive. Unfortunately, images can look pretty noisy when taken in less than optimal conditions, and somehow the noise reduction looks very odd with some weird artifacting going on if you are one to pixel peep. I feel like that this camera is roughly equivalent to the 200 megapixel camera on the standard Tank 3. When I pixel peeped, the level of detail actually looks superior, and the processing actually looked a little bit more pleasant on the 3S as well. Videos taken on this camera are actually pretty good too. It can film in 4K, exposure changes are relatively well handled, and the stabilization when you are standing still works okay too. But just don't expect the stabilization to keep up when you are walking like you can with a Samsung or an iPhone. The 8 megapixel telephoto camera though is just trash. However, in optimal lighting conditions, it does mean that you can zoom in a tiny bit further than compared to the main camera. However, when compared to an iPhone 15 Pro Max, let's say, it isn't impressive at all, I'm afraid. Just look at this concert footage. It's just night and day. The 50 megapixel front-facing camera also it's not amazing, but it isn't woefully ill-equipped either. It takes some fairly decent selfies, but it's a bit soft, and it's a bit noisy. It can take some quite nice selfie images, but the processing could be a lot better. The night vision camera, however, is great. It's still the same 64 megapixel sensor and can take some really cool images and video with it that you can't with basically any other phone. If you want to film the next Blair Witch Project or something like that, this would be perfect, and it's great for shooting wildlife in the dark as well. However, it is quite wide, so the wildlife would need to be rather close. And now we come to battery life. So the thing is, I am a very heavy phone user. I'm practically on my phone all the time. So quite typically, my iPhone 15 Pro Max lasts only about half a day, and I have to top it up halfway through. And that's why I love a Tank phone, because they literally go on forever. On the models with the 23,800 mAh battery, like the Tank 3 Pro, I can quite easily get between 4 to 5 days of battery life. A more reasonable person might be able to get up to 7, and according to other reviews, people actually do. But with a smaller battery on the Tank 3S, well, I'm seeing about 2.5 to 3 days worth of extreme use. That means that I'm using the camp light, I'm using the projector, and although battery life isn't as good as other Tank phones, it still means that you practically never have to think about your battery throughout your day, like ever. So is the Tank 3S the Tank phone to get? For me, it is. It offers just about everything that makes the original Tank 3 Pro so impressive, but in a slightly more manageable size that allows me to just about use it as a daily phone. However, if you do want the ultimate Tank phone, I feel like that the original Tank 3 Pro with the bigger battery and also the wide angle camera does make it the more complete phone. So after the launch of the Tank 3S, I feel like that this has to be the end of the Tank 3 line, because we've seen the original Tank 3 with the laser pointer instead of the projector that I assume nobody wanted. We've had the Pro version that remedied that, and now we've got the slimmer one, and any of those, to be fair, are very good choices. But assuming that the Tank 4 is next, I feel like that I would love to see 8849 go out all the way, because I feel like that there is a market for a higher inline Tank phone with flagship Snapdragon processors, AMOLED displays, and top inline camera sensors. Currently in the US, the Tank 3S costs around $600 USD for the 512GB version, and I feel like that there is space in the market for a $1,000 Tank phone, because then the Tank phone can be what it's always been destined to be, and that is the ultimate smartphone. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments which Tank phone you would choose. Would you get the 3S, or would you prefer something tiny like the Mini, or maybe something completely different like the original one? I would love to hear your thoughts. Otherwise, I hope that you are having a lovely day, and until next time, toodaloo.